Well, good afternoon or evening as it is. It is Sunday, March 15th. And if you're looking at your screen, you realize by now that is not Marty Durden on the screen with me. That is our special guest for today, Coach Tim Fanning of Glenwood School. And he is a return guest. We had him on earlier in the life of our podcast, and it was one of our most watched episodes that we've had. And Coach Durden kind of unexpectedly got caught up doing his duty as the interim golf coach at Shorter University. And they changed the schedule on them because tomorrow in Tennessee, where they're having the tournament, it's not supposed to get above freezing all day with wind blowing. So they decided to move up the tournament and play it. So he is having to handle duties as a golf coach and wasn't able to join us. So it's going to start out with Coach Fanning and I, and then we're going to be joined at some point by Thrift Behringer, the owner, CEO, man what be in charge at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and a good friend to us all. He's gonna jump on here with us and talk about this. But Coach Fanning, you are in the midst of season number what for you in baseball at Glenwood?
23rd as head coach, 27 overall.
27 overall, 23rd as the head coach.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Off to a good start. You've played some really tough competition coming up in this, especially in the last week. I know you've played some tough teams. I was able to call one of those games against Spain Park out of Hoover. And then you had a couple more tough opponents yesterday. In there at Glenwood, and just kind of talk about real quick about your season so far and what's going on with Glenwood right now.
Well, it's a little up and down. We lost. It's been noted quite a bit. The amount of senior arms that we lost last year. So coming into the year, main focus of ours was basically developing the pitching staff. So, that was kind of a big thing for us and hoping that we'll be okay on the mound. And to be quite honest, we've been pretty dang good. I've been so pleased with the guys because, basically all but one person in return, had no experience from a pitching standpoint, pretty much zero at the varsity level. So, not there wasn't talent. There's plenty of it. It's just they didn't have experience. So I've been real pleased with them. Until this weekend we had a rough one. We had a rough couple games, but we're playing good teams and we made mistakes and they capitalized on them. Early in both of those games. So it was kind of the Providence game. Rhett English, a sophomore, he pretty much dominated the entire game and could have finished it, but we were up 9-0. So let Jake Levy get in and get another inning under his belt. And so I guess what I'm saying is we're struggling a little bit with our offensive identity. I think this weekend though we took some strides towards rectifying that. It's a long season. We've only played 14 games. So
right.
If you'd asked me in retrospect to look back on how things have gone and two of our top arms still haven't pitched yet. So hopefully, when we get, after spring break, those guys will be good to go too. So like I said, it's a long season. The guys have been working hard. We just got to get some things cleaned up offensively and a little bit on defense too. So, like I said, you can't judge a season by the first 15 games. So we're just, really looking forward to, we got another tough week this week. We got there's a 7A area this week. We got Smith Station on Tuesday, Opelika on Thursday, and Central on Saturday. So just playing good teams is only going to make you better, what I mean, amidst that experience. So hopefully, this is going to pay off, a month from now when we We get back after spring break. Our area doesn't start until the first week in April. So
Okay. Yeah. So you're definitely running a little gamut here to prepare your guys, get them ready for the area schedule, and playing some really good teams. But I want to bring up one other thing, talking about some of the guys from last year. I know one in particular, and his older brother, and that are the McCrane boys. Now I know that Brandon didn't finish at Glenwood, but he
right.
attended Glenwood earlier and went to Smith Station. But Mason McCrane is starting basically every game and doing extremely well for Auburn. And Auburn is a very good baseball team right now, both nationally and in the SEC. How cool is it to see a couple of guys that played in your program performing to that level in the SEC?
Oh, it's definitely a source of pride, to be honest, and to see how they're carrying themselves and the way just representing Glenwood the way we always want kids to do is just on about as high a level as you can get right now. So, and being close, and a lot of our kids get and go, and they go and watch them play all the time. And I mean, Brandon and Mason are always at Glenwood. Like it doesn't matter that they're quote unquote, SEC stars and all these media things, and they're doing great things. But I mean, they're Glenwood Gators, man. Mason came over. He had a big weekend, one of the biggest weekends of his life. And, I think it was Monday. I don't know, maybe Wednesday. He came by and, hey, coach, can you throw a couple hundred balls to me? And I need to break this glove in. You know what I mean? It's just, they're just great kids, man. They really are. And both of them have, won state championships at Glenwood. We're definitely proud of them. And we're actually, next week starts our spring break. So we'll play Central on Saturday, and then we're going to take the team to watch them together against Texas next Sunday. And then go play up in Oxford at Chalk Park for Monday and Tuesday against Pale City, Calera, and Vincent up there. So it'll be a good week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been cool, seeing Mason on the TV screen. I pretty much watched both games yesterday.
Right.
While I was home, and seeing those guys do so well after calling him in a few games last year when you guys made your state championship run. It's really cool to, as a guy who does play-by-play, it's really cool when you do high school games and then you see those guys on the collegiate level. We see them in football a lot, and sometimes we don't get to see them as much in the game of baseball. But it's really, like you said, it's really cool that they're close by, and that Auburn is, they're basically going to be on some channel, whether it's ESPN ESPN Plus, or on one of the main networks. They're pretty much going to be on every time they play, and it's really cool to be able to see that and watch them succeed, especially both early in their careers at Auburn, a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. And sometimes they hit back-to-back in the order. I think last night was the first time they put somebody between them in the second game of the doubleheader last night, but they still were both involved in that outcome last night to get the sweep of that doubleheader at Missouri. So that was really fun to watch. But
and going over there, and I think it was last week I took my mom. Mason's one of her favorite players, and she'd never been to an Auburn game, and she's 83. And, I took her to the game, and just seeing her, I mean, he was loving on her after the game, and Tyler Sykes was there as well, and that's her two favorite guys from the last few years. And she would always bring them like gum and all this stuff, I mean, and then seeing them, the way they interact with the little kids afterwards and signing autographs and all that, because that's really what matters. Coach Thompson done such a great job, investing in them as young men, and not just, trying to see how many games he can win. I truly respect him. And that's why we've always been good friends. I think we have the same mindset when it comes to what God has put us on the earth to do and the
Mm-hmm.
responsibility we have. And just because it's in the SEC, it doesn't change how he approaches and what he feels is most important to not only him as a coach, but as a human being. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, as you know, just watch. You can watch the way their kids act and how professional
Mm-hmm.
they are, and just, you know, all programs are not that way. You know, I mean,
That's right.
so and all the amount of community service stuff they do, and they send. Last week I got a text from him and Brandon, telling me how much they appreciate everything I've done for them and all that. But you could tell that didn't just go to me. It was a thing that they do in their program,
Mm-hmm.
that Butch has them do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And just telling people how much they appreciate, the investment that they've made in them. So, it's just, there's more examples than just that, but that's
Mm-hmm.
just something that happened recently.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it is something that every time Coach Thompson's interviewed, it comes across.
Right.
You can tell he's genuine, and you can tell the kind of person he is, and it is really that's a program that's going in the right direction. He's not the only
Absolutely.
one in the SEC that's like that, but
Right. Sure.
he is. There's not a ton of them out there that run their program like that and make the demands of the players, and not so much in a disciplinarian way, but in the right way, in an example way, in a leadership way. And that's what we're all about here at this podcast is coaches as leaders. And I think yourself definitely falls into that category, and Coach Thompson falls into that category, and a lot of other guys that we've spoken to. Um, and and coming on, just bringing it on down the line with that. Talking today, the first time you were on, we kind of told your story, and you and I were, we were still talking when it was time to turn off. We could have probably talked another hour at least, but and it's interesting that Marty wasn't here that day either. I don't
That's
know.
right.
It's kind of funny that's happened again. Um, but we told you when we had you back, we'd talk a little bit more from the, maybe from the coaching side and from the philosophical side a little bit.
Mhm.
And that's what we want to do today. And I know, and we talked about this briefly earlier when you were on, but I know there was a time, and you were really highly involved in doing some missional work, and you guys
Mhm.
took trips, and talk a little bit about that and how that came to be, and what that was all about.
Yeah, there it is right there. Serve the lead right there. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, I tell you what, the way that started, it was 2012, I believe. So I played at Marshall University,
Mm-hmm.
and Coach McConnell, that actually coaches for me, has been at Glenwood 15, 16 years now, played for me. Um, he played at Marshall University, and then his best friends that played at Marshall, his name is Marshall
Mm-hmm.
Murray. So, um, anyway, so 2011, we had won our third straight state championship, and I just felt like that I wasn't doing enough. I didn't feel like I don't know what it was. It was a tug of my heart. The Lord was on me about doing more than what I was doing, and felt like I had a platform to do something. So I asked Josh. I said, "Well, man, I told him what I was thinking. I wanted to do something internationally, and he said, "Well, why don't you call Marshall? He has a nonprofit out in California, and they were basically, it was called More Than a Game, and they were doing like schoolyard cleanups and some equipment drives and things. It was just local. And so anyway, long story short, we ended up partnering up, and I told him I wanted to bring the international mission side to the table, and we
Mm-hmm.
did that for, oh man, our first trip was to Panama in 2012, and we did that for about about 7 years together. And, we went to Panama, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Taiwan, Cameroon, and Africa. We went to a bunch of different places, and the Dominican. We started it down there as well. So anyway, 2019, it was about the time, actually a week before I got diagnosed with cancer. I had decided we needed to kind of split ways. I felt like we needed to be more Christ centered, and it needed to be more out front. It was never that it wasn't a part of it, but I wanted to lead with it. And, we were just kind of, Marshall and I were kind of not on the same page when it came to that. So, basically, I got sick. We had COVID. All that, all my surgeries, all that was during that time, and I wrote the book and all that. And then, as soon as that was over, we took our first trip as Serve the Lead in 2020. So right after COVID. Well, I started it. I think the first trip might have been 2021, and then we've been doing it ever since. So, doing the same things, just a little more. We're, like I said, there's a lot more testimonies. We do devotionals every morning before we start. We share every night. Come back. And just do like I said, it's just a little more Christ forward. Matter of fact, a lot more Christ forward, and that really drives the ship, so to speak.
Okay. What's kind of the plans going forward now? What have you got on the agenda as far as Serve to Lead?
Well, this year, matter of fact, we want to open up. We went to Jamaica last year for the first time. Kay Huey, she's our director down there. She's Jamaican, but she lives in New York City. She's a physician's assistant there, and amazing woman. We had been talking, we've been trying to plan this for over 5 years, and trying to work through the government and do all this other stuff. And it just, I was sending letters and this and that. And just finally, I just told her, I said, look, God wants us to come down there. We're coming. Don't worry about that stuff. We'll figure it out. So we went for the first time then, and had what we felt was a great trip and a great opportunity to build something down there. And then the hurricane hits, which is a lot like life, right? So, but I've been speaking with her last month, and we're still going to try to go down there. I think we will do baseball, and we'll share Christ, but we'll probably do some humanitarian work more so than maybe field building, or things like that, just because of the situation that they went through. So and then actually, we were on national TV while we were in Jamaica, and then I had a teacher reach out to me from Antigua, and I've been speaking with him for quite some time now, and I think maybe we're going to try to go to Antigua and do a trip there for the first time this summer as well. So what it's looking like right now is Jamaica in June, Antigua in July, and then look in December. We started doing that in 2024, December 2024. And it's the first time we had done a winter trip. And it's something that had been on my heart for a long time, because there's always people who can't go during the summer that are professional guys or college guys that just, they can't go at that time. So we wanted to do a winter trip, and it turned out phenomenal. This Bate that we've always supported and worked with, Magdalena, going the week before Christmas, partnering with Amari Talamako, one of my dear friends that works for the Pirates. We bought over 200 meals, and we're delivering those, to those families in the sugarcane bate. So it was it was something we had never experienced before. But for me personally, it really, I don't know, it just kind of took it to another level for me. To realize that you can spend $17 and buy a bag of food that will feed a family for a week.
Right.
That's kind of hit you right between the eyes, about, I go to Jackson, I spend $17 on myself, because I eat
Right.
too much, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the plan right now. We're
Hmm.
working on that. It's just, it's real busy for me at this time. It's sometimes
Yeah.
difficult to juggle all these balls, but hopefully over spring break I can maybe solidify some details and things and start getting that stuff out to people who are interested in going on the trips.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. And tell people how they could find out more about Serve to Lead.
If you go to at Serve to Lead Team is what we use for social media for Instagram and Facebook. And then if you go to Serve to Lead Team, I'm sorry, serve to lead 2.com, the number 2, serve to lead 2.com. That's our website. And so
Hmm.
you can reach out to us on any of those platforms. And because I love that's one thing that's actually grown over the last 4 years is kind of the scope of who has been going on the trips. We've gotten a lot more people that are not just from Glenwood and that are not just into baseball. We take a lot of girls and women, you know what I mean? Like we do
Hmm.
softball, we do we do soccer. Baseball is just the platform that we use. It's really irrelevant, to be honest. It's about going down and loving on these people
Hmm.
and actually going down there and us experiencing what God has for us as well. It's not just
Right.
about helping the children that we help. We tend to end up getting more than we give.
Hmm.
That's just, I think that's what service is all about when you get to its core. You know what I mean? You go to help other people, but you're the one that ends up getting blessed. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, yeah, I would love for people to work. We got a lot of like parents that go with their kids now, and
Hmm.
that's been a total game changer for dad with his daughter or dad with his son or moms, started going after they got tired of the dads getting all the, fun and being able to hang out with their kids. So now, moms go with their kids too. So just seeing that dynamic, because when you're an adult and you get down there and you see your kid in a totally different light in that environment, and it just kind of changes your perspective a little bit. So
Hmm.
I've just kind of enjoyed, it's not just us taking baseball teams. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's so much bigger and deeper than that. So
Right.
I like the mix of. You have 60-year-olds and 14-year-olds. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it kind of gives them, and plus it helps kids too be around other adults that they don't know that they may be able to learn from as well. So anyway, that's
Hmm.
like I said, I talk about this forever, but that's
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just one last question before we leave that and go on to something else. Are there needs that people can help with this ministry with Serve to Lead, or do you have any specific things that people can do? And I know one of those is always prayer. People can
for
always
sure.
pray for that ministry, but are there other things that people could look into contributing or helping in any way?
For sure. Yeah, in this order: prayer, and if you feel led on your heart, to donate financially, that goes totally towards all these trips and what we're trying to do. Say, it would buy more meals on the trip I was talking about, the Dominican. So if we go
Mhm.
to Antigua, what we're trying to do is actually level a field. So we're going to bring in dirt and get some equipment. You know what I mean? That those donations go directly towards that type of stuff.
Mhm.
But also equipment. Like we always, and it's crazy. We have this storage shed, and just when it's like every time, I swear, last year we got to about, it felt like we got it about half gone, and now it's all full again. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's just God keeps blessing us. I would say if you want to pick one thing, Guanta. I always want gloves, Guanta. But
Mm-hmm.
gloves and balls are probably our biggest need from an equipment standpoint at this
Mm-hmm.
moment. Would be balls.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. So just go to the website or look them up on social media. And if you feel led to help, please do, whether it's financially or whether it's with some equipment, especially Guanta.
Yes, exactly.
If you can help, please do. And I know it would be appreciated. And it's absolutely going toward a fantastic cause. And it's also at the same time helping spread the word of Christ to people young and old on these trips. So, it's a
Well,
fantastic
I
thing.
tell you what, Mike, going to Jamaica and then going to Antigua, it was easier for us to, like, I didn't have to get the Bibles in Spanish that I got
Mm-hmm.
donated. Like Church of Highlands gave us a lot of Bibles to take, and they were in English that we took to Jamaica. You know what I mean? Because they read in English, so it's been pretty cool to be able to do that, and not, we have gotten Spanish Bibles, but it is way easier to access English.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah,
Bibles. Anyway,
absolutely. So you mentioned as you were telling the kind of the story of Serve to Lead, you mentioned you got sick. And I thought it was a great thing this morning. I knew you were going to be on the podcast today, and then I get to church this morning, and our associate pastor was the lead this morning with the sermon, and he asked 15 questions. It was based on Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to those who love the Lord and work according to His purpose. And then he brought out a bunch of scriptural things, and one of the questions he asked this morning was, "Why do bad things happen to good people?" And you went through something that a lot of people go through. You went through a very serious illness. You were diagnosed with cancer. You went through all the treatments. You had your surgeries. You went through that whole ordeal, I'll call it. But a lot of people never knew you were sick. And if they didn't know you and they didn't know the story, they didn't know about it, because you went right on and you kept doing what you do as much as you could. But I just wanted to ask you your background on that question and your ideas on that question. Why do bad things happen to good people? And or basically it was, why does God allow that, or whatever connotation you want to put on it, but it's basically, why do good things happen to bad people? And I'll tell you what the pastor said, but what's your thought on that question when you hear that question? Because I'm sure you've heard it before.
oh, absolutely. And I think it's an important question to ask ourselves as human beings, and especially as followers of Christ. And I think it's important to kind of make sure that we use those things as a way to magnify the kingdom of Christ, not question it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of look at it. I've always been a glass half full guy, right? As opposed to, and that's what I share with my players all the time. You can choose which way the glass is, empty or full, right? So if it's empty, then it's, okay, man, why does this happen to me? I'm a good person. Okay, well, first of all, being a good person doesn't get you in heaven.
Correct.
Okay, being a believer in Christ gets you in heaven. Okay, so I think sometimes we have to do that, and I think self-reflection is very healthy, but I'm kind of going around the block to get to the answer, but I think the reason is because your trials are where you learn who you are and what God has for you. That's what He can do for you, because it's so easy to get complacent when everything's going great, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, it's so easy to win when everything's going your way. Who are you when everything's not? And that's, to me, the biggest testament of believing in a higher power, believing in God and believing in Jesus, what he has for
Mm-hmm.
us. So that's just kind of how I've always looked at it. Have I had my pity parties? For sure, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone does. Jesus before God took him, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
so did his apostles. So did, you know what I mean? Like, that's a normal human reaction to have that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to self-reflect. Okay, so if I'm a believer in Christ, this is happening for a reason. What reason is it?
Mm-hmm.
So am I going to have a clouded head and not figure it out because the devil's attacking me and say, if you were with me, I wouldn't do that to you, right? I got all this, and this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think it's important. As soon as those trials come, the first reaction has to be, okay, why? Like, what am I going to see through this trial? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So if not, then you go to the other side of the street and you're like, okay, well, if if he really cared about me, he wouldn't put me through this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we learn who we are during those trials and tribulations, and then also what he has for us, um, on the other side of those trials and tribulations. If we just
Right.
if we just believe in him.
Exactly. And the simple answer this morning in the sermon was, why do bad things happen to good people? It's because sin entered the world.
Right.
And
Right.
that all the bad stuff started when sin entered the world.
Right.
And of course, who is the author of sin in the world? It is that creature we call the devil. We call him Satan. We call him Lucifer. There's a whole bunch of names that the Bible
Right.
gives him. And he went on to basically say some of the same things you just said, Tim. It allows us to see who God is in a truer way, um, and where you put your eyes, and where you put your faith, and where you the questions that you ask. It allows you to experience God in different ways, but also you have to learn the difference between God and Satan.
Right.
God is omniscient, all powerful. He's omnipotent. He is all everything, and Satan is nowhere near that. He is cunning. He's smart. He's a deceiver. He's a liar. He's any number of things that you can think of. And when he jumps on humans, a lot of times it's real easy for humans to believe that road that he's taking them down. And then, but all you have to do is put your eyes back on God, and God will show you a path out of all of that. And He's also going to show you um, what He's accomplishing through this. And I know that you saw through your own experience, you saw things that God was accomplishing through your trials that you went through, and the trials that we all go through. Talk a little bit about that. Just what you learned through your illness and through the trials that you went through.
Well, and first of all, and until I surrendered, I only felt like I was just battling the disease by myself physically, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like, I'm gonna beat this because I'm tough, I'm stubborn, I don't quit, I don't do any. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Until I surrendered, then it turned into, okay, what do you have in store for me? How do we get through this? And how
Mm-hmm.
do we come out on the other side and use this, you know, platform to bring more people to Christ. That's
Mhm.
when I did that, then I saw it totally different. I began to not push away people who were trying to help me, but actually welcome them into that inner circle because God had them there for me. But
Mhm.
at the beginning, I was just too clouded by and fixated on the disease.
Mhm.
And because I thought, because I remember going to 21 days of prayer, and when I think I had just started chemo, and so I go in there, and I didn't want to go to begin with, and some of my inner circle, they just, like, please just come with me to this. So I go in, and the first person I see that wants to pray for me is someone I haven't seen since I was a child, that I
Mhm.
went to church with some, you know, 40 years ago or whatever that may be,
Right.
or 35 years ago. And that was the first thing I was like, wait a minute. Okay. That's, because I've never really believed in coincidences. Never. I always believed that things happen for a reason. Like he's always put these situations in front of me because he wants them in front of me. So, you know what I mean? Like, so that was the first thing. And then once I started allowing that grace, what I mean? Because I had a hard time accepting his grace, right? So
Mhm.
once I started doing that and letting people a little closer to me, then my eyes started opening up like, oh, well, God had me at Glenwood for all these years because he knew that this is where I was supposed to be,
Mhm.
right? And all these people started surrounding me and my family, and then I started getting the picture. Like, I've been here this entire time for this exact moment,
Mhm.
right? So to share this with them, but for them to, like, just love on me and my family, you know what I mean, and help me
Mhm.
through that. So it took me a little while to understand that that's what was going on, because I thought that he was healing my disease, but he was actually healing my heart.
Mhm.
It just happened to be the cancer was what everybody saw. So the perspective changed for me tremendously, because I've always like I've always struggled with, like, mortality,
Mhm.
because it's not that I don't believe in Jesus and I don't believe in heaven. I do, but I've always, like, personally, I'm like, I love life so much, and there's so much I want to do. But as you start to get older, you start to look at your life differently. Like, okay, at some point, I have to trust that God is going to give me everything in my life that I need, my family needs, and I will be okay with it. Not like,
Mhm.
well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to travel the world, I want to see all the four corners of everything. I want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it actually allowed me to kind of slow down and appreciate everything that he has already blessed me with and brought me from the depths of hell, to be quite honest, and to, out of situations growing up that, you know from the outside looking in, you may think that I, like, how I ever got out of that situation,
Mhm.
and so, um yeah, it was tough to start with, but the more I surrendered and allowed him to take over, it just became almost like just a journey that I was on. And, like, when I come to school, I share this with my kids because I have this enrichment class and I teach them the 9 weeks is the Serve the Lead book, and we
Mm-hmm.
read it and go through it. And there's some tough questions in there for a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old. There's some, very real things in that book. And so, you know, I remember coming to that school with my chemo pump on and all that other stuff. And some people will ask me like, well, man, wasn't that hard? I was like, actually, no, like it helped me. Like it helped me be able to share what was going on with these kids, and then also allow him to just run his grace all over me. Like this school was just such a godsend for me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? To be around those kids and, I don't know, just be able to, he gives you these things to use them for his glory. If you'll
Mm-hmm.
just allow it to happen. And
Right.
that's, it just took me a while to figure that out,
Yeah.
going through. So.
Yeah. And the difference is, Coach, that, the world often teaches us to question,
Right.
why. And it always teaches, somebody must have done something wrong. You must be getting punished for something, or
Right.
it's somebody
Right.
else's fault, or, that's kind of the attitude of the world. And you know, the Bible never said anywhere that we weren't going to go through trials.
Right.
We weren't going to go through things. I think our associate pastor today did just a marvelous job of talking about the Apostle Paul. And all that he went through. He mentioned he was stoned, he was beaten. How many times? At least 3 times to 39 lashes, because 40 was considered a death sentence. So they stopped one short of 40. And I think it was at least 3 times he was beaten. So literally within an inch of his life, 3 different times. He was shipwrecked. He was in the water for a day and a night before he was rescued. He was bitten by a snake.
Wow.
All of this stuff that he went through, his entire ministry after Damascus, and before Damascus, what was he? He was the guy who was standing there holding people's coats while they punished people, while they stoned people to death, and while they were brutal to people just for believing in Christ and believing in the way. And then God got a hold of him on the road to Damascus. He blinded him for a little while. So you add being blind for a little while to that list that he went through. And, and look at all the letters that he wrote, and look at the instruction that he gave to people, and how that has meant so much to so many lives going through. And you're like, he's a guy who found the way to look where his eyes should have been for a long time. And and in the end, like so many others, he was martyred. And but what a life, what a story he had, what a testimony he had. And he shared that through all of those letters and through all of those stories that he wrote in the Bible. And God authored that through him. And just the same way with you, with your experience, God has authored works through your experience with you, and been able to use that to do, I don't know, immeasurable good for a lot of people, just to be an example. And God uses everyday people. Just think about it. Here you are, Tim Fanning. You grew up in a tough situation, tough situation. God brought you out of that, and you're just a normal person. You go into coaching, you do fantastic things as a coach, and God's been able to use you through this whole thing. Just a normal guy. And he didn't pull you from the tip top of a government somewhere. He didn't pull you from your first in your class at Harvard or something like that. He pulled you from growing up in a tough situation being a normal kid, and here you are now, and praise God, you're returning things to Him the right way, and um, you're paying it forward with a lot of people, and there's tons of people out there that appreciate it, and I admire your story and been touched by your story and all that you've been able to do and accomplish, but you're not finished yet, right?
Amen, brother. Amen. I'm not. It's funny because I will say one thing that has changed, like with us being in the AHSA now, like it's been really special for me is the amount of different coaches I get to meet that I've never like played against before.
Mm-hmm.
But we go back to this whole thing with the cancer, and there was that time when Mark Jackson was praying for me at the state convention, and there's just hundreds of coaches in there, and they all come down, they lay hands on me and do all this other stuff. Well, like 95% of those coaches I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like over the last year and a half of last baseball season and this baseball season so far, we played. It's just you just meet these guys and hey, coach, man, I've always heard so much about you, man. I remember when I was in that room and I was laying hands on you, and I never got to meet you, and just to come and see it, and it just gives you that platform immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just hits you right. It just hits you like a ton of bricks. Like that's right. This guy's here right now. Like right now, he is here
Mm-hmm.
for you to talk to because God put him in your life, like
Yep.
right now. So go talk to him. Like, and it's like that keeps happening like week after week after week. And it's just, you just got to make sure your eyes are open and you're looking, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And the reason, and when you miss those things, usually most of the times it's out of self-pity. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
some I need to get this done, or I need, and I'm worse. I'm telling you, my patience is horrible. Like that's not one of my virtues. God did not give that to me. But it's like, and you keep like, oh, I don't have the time to do this. I got to go do the next thing or whatever. When really that one extra, just 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, just to invest in that person. God got the door open for you. Just walk through it and he'll take care of the rest. You just got to
Mm-hmm.
walk through it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, like it's, and I think about it, uh, when we lose a game, how do I react when I lose a game? Like if I react incorrectly, like with my players, like I'm going to apologize. I'm going to tell them I was wrong. I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to share that with them because I want that from them, right? I want brutal honesty from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to give them honesty, right? That's what God does to us. We just not willing to hear it sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to continue to do that and use this platform and I'm just honest with coaches that I meet. You know what I mean? I don't like try to put on a facade or you know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
I just tell them like I don't know. It's really awesome if I can ever just take time to sit back and look at what opportunity I have on a daily basis to not only be around kids but to be around other godly men or ones that need God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's both. Both's important for me because I need to be around great leaders too to keep me in check. You know what I mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
he's given me an opportunity. Like the guy from Spain Park, man, he was awesome. I really enjoyed meeting him. Like it was the first time we'd ever met, and just I could tell immediately. Like I don't know. I've been around long enough to know. Like I could tell the way his players carried themselves, the way they acted, the way he talked, just what he was about within about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And he impressed like so I mean I took him one of my books and asked him if it'd be okay if I could give him one, and he said, man, I will read this weekend. Like I've always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to come here and I've always wanted to meet you and I've heard so much about you. And but there again, he didn't hear about me because I'm some great coach. He heard about me because God put me out there so that he would know who I am.
Right.
So that maybe we might have a relationship, or I may be able to help him, or he may be able to help me, or he may end up going on a trip with us. You know what I mean? Or bringing some of his players. You know what I mean? So anyway, I know I just rambled on, but that was, it just kind of, I get excited sometimes when there's things out there that we don't think about that God puts in our lives all the time. We just gotta open our eyes and see them. So.
No doubt about it. And all of us are guilty sometimes of having blinders on or having our eyes covered, not wanting to see it because, like you said earlier, we're having a little pity party where we think things are, oh, woe is me. And then, all of a sudden God reaches down and just thumps us in the head and says, wake up, dude. I mean, look what's right in front of you. And, and it's amazing when that happens. But well, Coach, we are basically out of time again. We could go on and we could keep talking again for another hour probably, but we got to limit this thing so people will watch it and people will share it and people will talk about it because that's what we want.
Yes, sir.
That's what we want every week out of this podcast. But I'm gonna paraphrase what I normally ask because I think I asked you the last time. I think I asked you the question I ask just about every guest that we have, and that's, what advice would you give to someone who's just getting into the field of coaching? But I'm going to paraphrase that and just say, if you're speaking to a group of coaches, no matter if they're new coaches, no matter if they're guys that have been coaching for 30 years, what are some things that you are going to emphasize to them that are important that they need to do as a coach? Not necessarily in X's and O's and things like that, but what are some things that you believe are tenets of the coaching job that every coach in the country, in the world has? What are some things that you would say? What are some important things that they need to pay attention
to? Build your philosophy, your coaching philosophy on rock. Like, you have to find out what your pillars truly are to build a program that's going to sustain and is going to inspire others to do the same thing. So whatever those things are, for one, I think you need to spend time with other coaches. You need to better yourself through professional development, like just really spend time. It's not just going to come to you. You have to be around successful people. And also that could be not just on the field, but off the field. You know what I mean? Like, just surround yourself with successful people so that you can pull from those things. So I think you're never going to ultimately be as successful as you can if you don't have these core pillars that you feel are the most important things. And I will tell this, my advice is that winning is never one of them. It can be on the list, but it needs to be very far down the list. And the only reason it's on the list is because when you take care of all those other things, the winning takes care of itself. It's the culture part of it. And sometimes I get absolutely just like sick to my stomach and I've heard it before. It's like, I mean, culture don't have anything to do with it. It's the athletes. Like, they just got better athletes. Well, I've had teams that were supremely athletic. There were not good teams. And it's because deep in the core, they weren't centered and it was just about them. You know what I mean? Selfishness will never ultimately create success for you. Never.
Right.
So I think, there's several things in our, decision making is huge. I think, how do your decisions affect your relationship with God, your your family, your academics, and then it's your sports or extracurriculars or whatever. Okay, so that's fourth, just in the decision making part. You know, are you doing community service with your folks? Are you showing an example to your kids that other people mean more than them? Okay, so that's two rocks right there. Okay. Then as far as responsibilities and accountability, if you take those four things, I mean, honestly, now, I mean, I can go farther down the list, but if you go, you know, decision making, community service, responsibilities, and accountability, then I mean, you're already, that's four. And there's more to it than that, because like you said, I'm not even talking about, you know, X's and O's, how hard you work, what kind of your your offensive strategy is going to be, you know, any of that, like none of it. But that can also be learned by a chimpanzee, in my opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you study enough, okay, you can do that. But then, okay, that means you're great at X's and O's. What about the rest of the stuff? Like, it's going to disintegrate. I'm just telling you. I've seen it. I've seen it hundreds and thousands of times with programs all over the United States of America. It's always going to do that. So if you just wanted to tap into four right there, you know, decision making, community, because role models will fall underneath that, right? And then, you know, responsibilities and accountability. I mean, that's four. That's four pillars. I mean, that's the four corners of your house. So
that's pretty strong.
You know what I mean? If those aren't solid, one of them's going to crumble on the end. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
Is that good enough right now?
Oh, absolutely. More than good enough. Coach, once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being with us and for sharing with us. And we're going to have you back again, you know, somewhere down the line, because, you know, it is always, you know, this time may be better than the last time. And we're going to keep you back, but I want to wish you the best as you go through your season, and especially when you get down to the nitty gritty and your area play starts, and
yes, sir.
Future holds for your team. And I will see you probably several more times before the year's out.
Sir.
But just wish you all the best, and thank you again for being with us, and everybody else out there. Once again, as we tell you, or as we ask you to every week, share this podcast on your social media, share it with your contacts in your phone, share it through text messages, whatever you want to do. You'll find us on Facebook. You'll find us on YouTube under the Georgia Alabama Sports Live platform, and just hit that share button. And you know, if you want to get in touch with us, all you have to do is send messages. You can go to the Step Up social media pages. All you have to do is look up Step Up Make a Difference on social media, and you'll come up on our pages. Send us messages, send us guest ideas, send us topic ideas, and send us feedback, because we can only get better if we get feedback from people, and we appreciate it. But as we always say when we leave every week, folks, have your eyes open, have your head up, because there's going to be opportunities. And when you get that opportunity, be willing to step up and make a difference. Coach Fannin, have a great week, man. God bless you. And we will see you, and we'll see everybody else next week. And hopefully Marty will be back next week as we do another episode of Step Up, Make a Difference. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.